It's nice to have you back here in this new video. Today, we'll continue our talk on 360 camera. In this video, we're gonna focus on the Insta360 ONE RS 1-inch edition, 1-inch 360 edition. I'd like to compare this camera to the Ricoh THETA Z1, which the Ricoh THETA Z1 is 4 years old. The ONE RS 1-inch 360 edition should be capable enough to rival that of the THETA Z1. I'd like to share my basic ideas on how this camera could be better in photo, add a minor feature to this camera to solve this problem, that's to make this camera even more capable in the near future in 2023. First, just some new update about this Insta360 ONE RS 1-inch 360 edition. Now, it is compatible with the GPS action remote, and it's also compatible with the power selfie stick as well with the latest firmware software. This camera is now compatible with Matterport as well, because you can now control this camera via the latest Matterport app on your phone. In our next episode, we would like to focus on the Matterport capability of this camera to share with you step-by-step tutorial. But here in this video, I would like to propose a minor feature for this camera to rival that of Z1. First, I'd like to say that the PURESHOT HDR is a great feature, but it's just not the best feature among all of its kind. And next one, just want to jump into the THETA Z1 app. Just want to show you, demonstrate to Insta360 engineers how the Ricoh engineers to solve the problem of the auto explorer bracket. Now in the different working mode, there is a standard shooting. Under the standard shooting, you can capture. In auto mode, we have more options. The last one, this one is the HDR rendering, and this one is handheld HDR. For the HDR rendering, the THETA Z1 will automatically mirror the exposure and capture all the shot, stack inside this camera, generate a 60-bit raw DNG format inside this camera. And for the handheld HDR, this camera will take another shooting strategy to remove the motion blur or remove the ghost, and also bring back more detail in the overexposed areas. So the handheld HDR works best during traveling and where there's plenty of light. And for the HDR rendering, it works fantastic in the virtual tour shooting scenarios. And here's the trick. When you tap the settings, you get to see that you can always set the ISO upper limit when take photo with this camera. If you set the ISO upper limit to 200, that if it's 1-inch image sensor, it is always possible to generate the best possible imaging quality from this camera, no matter in 12-bit, in 14-bit, or in 16-bit. By setting an ISO upper limit, and you get to unlock the best imaging quality from the 1-inch imaging sensor and the whole optical design. Next one is a brand new design by Ricoh, that is Auto Explorer bracket. This Auto Explorer bracket, it's a brand new design for the THETA Z1, and currently it is only available on the iOS platform, which is a pity. Here I'd like to share with you, you can set the step. You can set the step, I mean the EV step in between the two images. Well, you can set to 0. When set the step to 0, it is actually a burst capture. It's not auto explorer bracket, it's a burst capture. And you can set step to 0.3 all the way up to 3.0. So it's really flexible. I normally set to 1.0. And you can also get to see the numbers of all the explorer bracket. 3, 5, 7, up to 9. 1.0 EV step and the 9 shot in the explorer bracket. You gotta capture the minus 4.0 all the way up to 4.0, 9 shot in bracket. And you can also change the sequence when performing different exposures. Well, you have different strategies, and for conventional cameras like the GR or some other cameras, you can set the first capture the EV0 and the minus exposure, and then the plus exposure. And you can also capture from the fastest exposure, it's minus 4.0, all the way up to 4.0 by the EV step. So you do have two different strategies, and this is conventional function in the DSLR other mirrorless camera. No matter Sony, Nikon, or Ricoh, every other cameras, they do have this out exposure bracket function built inside the camera body. You can also change this ISO settings. For most of the shooting scenarios, we like to turn it off because we don't want to change the ISO during all the exposure sequence. Let's get the same noise level in between different exposures, so to speak. In post-process, when we want to HDR stacking in post, we get a noise-free image and get the best possible quality. Sometimes when you reach the maximum, when you reach the maximum exposure time, and you still want to capture more light, that is where you have to set ISO higher level. And this is how Ricoh designed this auto exposure function right in this camera, which makes this camera fantastic, super capable, it delivering the best possible quality. So for most of my everyday shooting, for videos, and I always shot with Insta360 camera. For the same imaging quality, for the Ricoh 61, it's easier to get a higher imaging quality. That's correct. That's true. And it doesn't matter when you have a 7K or 6K image. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have that much difference. But for the whole workflow, I mean, the Z1 looks more professional, especially for the high dynamic range situation. Insta360 ONE RS is a modular system. The modular system that you have replaceable battery, replaceable SD card, and everything is replaceable. So the real shooting experience, especially for heavy duty shooting, this ONE RS 1-inch 360 works much better compared with Z1. Because for Z1, when I out for shooting, I have to connect to a power bank, especially when I'm shooting in winter. But for ONE RS, it's more robust and long-lasting, more reliable as well. And in the previous section, I've already demonstrated how the Z1 works on the auto exposure bracket and the HDR rendering in the full auto mode. It works pretty fantastic. And I also make my personal in-depth review on all of these functions in my previous videos. Next one, let's jump back to the Insta360 camera app and see how the Insta360 should improve their photography potential in the camera design. You have live preview on the camera. It's a screen. I mean, the screen, the battery life, the modular system, and the replaceable micro SD card. All of these features could rival that of Z1, and they do have same image sensor, but only the minor differences is optical design. This is a triple folded optic design. This is a twin folded optic design. But the Insta360 engineer did a great job on the stitching quality, so it doesn't matter. With the one Insta360, even though it's a little bit thicker, but you can still generate error-free result with this camera. If we can unlock the best possible imaging quality, this one Insta360 could definitely rival that of Z1. It's very intuitive and easy to connect with the ONE RS 1-inch 360 edition. And the live preview also works fantastic. You do have a live preview on the app, and you also get a live preview on this touch screen. And this works as a standalone camera. It is built to be functional. Here to speak, this is a live preview, and if you tap this button, you get to see the photo. In the photo mode, the photo mode works great, especially the PURESHOT. I really love the PURESHOT. On the basis of a single raw image, the PURESHOT has generated the best possible quality. The quality is definitely great enough for social network, but not for some business photography requests. And in the single photo mode, you get a full control of the shutter speed, the ISO, white balance, and even you can set the individual exposure. This is for some really high dynamic situation, but it's very tricky. Insta360 has replaced the HDR capture as a standalone option inside the ONE RS 1 360. Here you can see the HDR photo. When you turn back to the HDR photo, what you get In image format, you only have JPEG and PureShot. When you tap the PureShot, the camera gonna capture a series of raw DOT file, and you can add this HDR raw stack inside the studio software and generate a high dynamic range situation. The PureShot HDR works definitely fantastic in bright sunlight areas. When you capture the PureShot HDR in some low light or interior shot, you just cannot lock the ISO to 100 or 80. Here you can see in this, I'm now in the HDR shooting mode. Tap the PureShot HDR, and here you can see you can turn on the histogram, and you can even watch the tutorials if you don't know how to use this mode. In auto mode, here you can see we do have bracket numbers 3, 5, 7, or 9, and the ONE RS 1360 is also capable to capture in burst capture mode. I mean, the 9-shot bracket capture in the burst is also lightning fast. And you can also set the EV step, the 0.3 all the way up to 1.0. And compared to Z1, Z1 could add a large EV step up to 3.0 EV step. So it is more flexible on Z1 rather than the ONE RS 1360. You can neither set the ISO upper limit nor you can set the ISO number. I wish that in the future you can unlock the ISO settings. I mean, to set ISO upper limit, or to set the ISO, you can lock the ISO. Lock ISO to 400 or even 100. Because when you go back to video mode, the photo mode, you can see we do have the option to change the ISO. Here you can see. And for auto manual, yes, you do have the ISO settings. And for the ISO settings, you can set the lowest ISO for this camera is 100. So normally speaking, for capture HDR shot and on a tripod, you should always capture at the lowest ISO number, because that will guarantee that the quality gonna be great. But judging from my own experience, the ONE RS tend to elevate ISO to 400 or to 640. That to say, you just cannot get the best overall quality from the 1-inch image sensor, unless there's plenty of light. Then without exposure, every shot we captured at, I mean for video, 400 max, 800 max, 1600 max. This is what I'm calling this ISO upper limit. But for photo, I do hope that it is possible to set ISO 100 max. We can lock the ISO to ISO 100 for the HDR photo. When you capture 9 shot, ISO 100 and generate in PureShot HDR, just imagine the final quality. The final quality gonna blow your mind away. And if you guys can bring back this feature to this camera, I would definitely make in-depth review and show you how it works, especially the whole workflow with the studio software. By adding this feature, I mean, this ONE RS 136 edition could really rival that of Z1. Plus, this camera also have replaceable battery, replaceable storage, touch screen, a better workflow, and its full sensor readout for the video as well, 6K, 30 FPS, pretty awesome. Okay, time to wrap up. I made this video for you guys, not to make a comparison in between these two cameras, but to show you how this camera could be better in the future, and why THETA Z1 is an excellent 360 camera for photography even in the year 2023. Insta360 guys should catch up on HDR shooting capability to meet the requirement from virtual tour photographers or the real professional photographers in the 360 industry. And if you want to know more about the real comparison between these two cameras, you can refer to Sam Ross tutorials on the Ricoh official website. And this one minor request feature for this ONE RS 1-inch 360, that to bring back ISO settings to the HDR photo option, so that we can either change the ISO upper limit to 100 or 200, or just lock the ISO at 100 or any value that's in the manual exposure shot. Or maybe you guys could add the manual exposure shot for the HDR photo mode. And finally, the best flexibility when we capture our premium quality business photo virtual tours. That is all about this video. If you found this video helpful, please don't forget to sign up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Talk to you soon. See you next time. Bye.